there, everybody. It's Sage from Fandom City. Great to be here with all you today with another Fandom City video. Again, if you're just tuning in and you haven't been watching our YouTube channel and or our Mixler channel for a while, we have become Fandom City. We are no longer the Fandom Cantina. We are now Fandom City. And today I want to take some time to talk to all of you guys about Collider. That's right. I want to talk about Collider. I want to talk about the movie Trivia Schmodown. I want to talk about Jedi Council. I want to talk about the people there, the people that used to be there. I want to talk about a lot of the fan comments I see in some of their videos. I might be able to approach this from a fan's point of view. And I just want to address some of the things that have been put out there for a while now that, I get it. We're all entitled to our own opinion, hence why I'm making a YouTube video that might get viewed by 100 or 200 people. We're not a big channel. We're a small channel. We used to be, anyways, much bigger on the podcast side, but I wanted to take some time out of my day today to talk to you guys about Collider and everything that has happened and is happening over there. Right off the top, I want to be straightforward with you guys. I ran into Collider at a hard point in my life. I'd seen it a few times before The Force Awakens. So I had first tuned in 2015. And, but really it was 2016 where I got on the Collider train. I had been diagnosed with cancer. It was a horrible time in my life. It was the toughest time in my life that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. And a lot of the days I found myself in the middle of a divorce and going through treatment at the same time, and found myself sitting at home on the sofa watching Collider or the Schmoes No Show or the movie Trivia Schmodown or Movie Talk. And so some of these people, and not to put any of them on a pedestal, but, we get fixated and have a liking for people we watch on, television or movies or YouTube. And because of the time in my life that I was going through, when these people, became familiar with me, at least from a viewing standpoint, I have a lot of passion about the people there. Some of them I've gotten to talk to very briefly online. Again, I want to be straightforward with this. I knew someone that was with the Schmoes No Show for a very brief time, and so I'm approaching this from a unbiased point of view. And there's a bunch of topics I want to get to. I don't want this video to run too long, so let's get right into it. The Schmodown. The Schmodown is something that should absolutely be on a television network somewhere. Christian and Mark, and not to give more credit to one than the other, but it seems pretty clear that Christian is the head guy behind it. But both of them have done an incredible job with this. The Schmodown is more entertaining than 75% of what you're going to see on your television. It absolutely is. I love it. I love the trivia aspect to it. I wish they did more Star Wars. Biasly, I, think that I could probably go in there in Star Wars and give Mr. Knapsack and company a run for their money for sure. That said, I love what they do. I love the characters that they've created there. I was a huge Lions Den fan, huge Patriots fan. Fingers crossed for a reunion one day. And you're going to find out really quickly that this video is more of a what's bothering me about what certain fans don't understand. And it starts with the Schmodown. And it's, well, why is this guy not coming back? Or why is she not coming back? Or why don't we see more of this person? And I want to see this and I want to see that. It's like, guys, these are people who a lot of them have children, a lot of them work long hours, and then on top of that, they have family commitments. And it's not always possible to get people there. People want to go out, do new things, experience new things. Does it suck that the Shire Wolves are going to be done? Yeah. I miss the Patriots. I'm going to miss the Shire Wolves. It's a bummer, but you know what? This happens. And their ability, I don't want to use the word replace, but to replenish talent after someone decides to go and do something else is top notch. I have never seen it done before. Whenever Smets and his buddies up there, it from a character point of view, drives me nuts because it's like, oh, I really don't like that guy. But how can you not respect the knowledge level? I have my fingers crossed that one day the Schmodown is going to come to Canada. I'm sure there's sponsorship issues and venue issues and the fact that they would have to leave their country that causes a bit of an issue, but hopefully one day they make it up here to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The Schmodown is fine, people. Like I said, this thing should be on a cable network somewhere. That would suck for me because I don't have cable anymore. But what they do is wonderful. Everybody that helps out there is wonderful. Inside Schmodown with Ken Knapsack, and now with Roxy Stryer. That's going to be incredible. What they do is fantastic. I myself was skeptical about their ability to pull off some of these live events. I have watched them via YouTube and completely blown away by the presentation and how they're able to pull that off. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Guys, I get it. You have favorites, just like you have favorites in WWE, or you have favorites in something you watch that's Star Wars, or you have a favorite hockey player or a basketball player, or, a favorite athlete. People move on to do different things. That's part of life. It doesn't always mean that there's drama going on behind the scenes. It doesn't mean that Christian and company don't like this guy and don't like that guy. So knock it off with some of those crazy comments. Like, Jesus. The Schmodown is a sport. It's phenomenal. And you absolutely should give it a chance. The new talent that has come in there is top notch. And, I'm sure you'll see some of the old talent from time to time. But I absolutely love what they're doing. Let's move on to Collider Movie Talk. I started watching Movie Talk passionately when John Campea was still there. I obviously connect with Campea, him being a fellow Canadian. And it is... it's different. It's not the same Movie Talk that it used to be. Mark Ellis took over, did a fantastic job. Perry Nemiroff is now there. Yes, the Grand Moff Nemiroff. And I get it. It's not the same show that it used to be. It's definitely very different. John brought some things to the show that are no longer there. Mark brought some things to the show that are no longer there. And Perry has brought some things to the show that weren't there when Mark and John were. I'll be honest. I'm a little burnt out on Movie Talk. I will see what the topics are of the day and decide if I'm going to tune in where I used to tune in all the time. But again, it's a fine example where some people say content is king. And at the moment, content is king for me when it comes to Movie Talk, because that's when I tune in, when I see what content they're going to talk about. Was I overly thrilled that they used an Obi-Wan Kenobi picture yesterday and he didn't come up at all on the show unless I misheard? That's a little frustrating. That's a little clickbaity, and I think they're better than that. But when I first started watching Movie Talk, I continued watching because of the people that were on there. Man, when you got desks that included the foursome of the late, great John Schnepp, John Campea, Mark Ellis, and Christian Harloff, you will not find better entertainment anywhere on the internet than those four. It's not to knock the people that are doing it now. But for me, I grew to love the hosts. I don't know if characters is the right word, but I love them, so I tuned in regardless of what the content was. And now, am I with it as much being a shorter show? No, I'm not. But that doesn't mean it's bad. Just because it's not for me doesn't mean that it's terrible or it's trash. And I hate when people do that because they work very hard to go out there and produce those shows. If you don't like it, don't tune in. It's that simple. But again, just because you don't like it doesn't mean someone else doesn't like it. They may love it, and it's absolutely worth giving a shot. I'll say that. Let's keep this thing rolling. Collider Live. I absolutely love Collider Live to the point where I listen each and every day. It's, yes, when they start talking about The Bachelor, that's not exactly the most appealing thing for me. But it appeals to some other audience. And you know what? That's great. And if they love it, that's awesome. But they have amazing guests on. The way they present the show is very reminiscent to the Schmoes Know show. And that's a good thing. And at the same time, I still think people are expecting it to be Schmoes Know. And it's not. These guys work for Collider. The show is titled Collider Live. Do you get Schmoes Knows guys on there? Yeah, you do. And it's fabulous when they are. It's honestly, when I've had a hard day and I come home and, I get to work on something for Fandom City, or I'm spending time with the family, it's nice to just put on in the background Collider Live and just listen to it. It's a part of my everyday. But those that are upset that it's not the Schmoes Know show, come on. I miss Schmoes Know. I do. I miss the Schmoes Know live show. It was fantastic. I hope one day there's time to bring it back. But it's not that. I mean, Mark's not there. I get it. Mark did Schmoes Know for a long time without Christian when Christian was off raising his little one, I believe, is what he was doing. But Mark's off doing his own thing. People always got to create drama where there is none. And it's so frustrating because it's like Mark is a stand-up comic. And he's a damn good one. And it sucks that I was busy when he came to Toronto this year. Go figure. Let the show be the show. Again, if you like it, great. If you don't, then try something else. But just because certain people aren't there anymore doesn't mean that they hate one another. Which brings me to my next... Oh, by the way, I'm not sure what happened to Brett Sheridan and why this other show is starting. Haven't heard him on there in a while. I did miss a couple weeks of the show. I know he was only on there, about once a week to begin with. But if one of you guys know what happened there, comment down in the comment section below and let me know. I'd like to know what happened. But let's talk about drama. And one name that when you mention it with Collider, people seem to jump to the absolute worst conclusions, and that's John Campea. I watched John Campea's show a decent bit, just like I watched Collider Live. I probably watch Collider Live more than I watch John Campea's show. And I don't, you would have to be an idiot to think that there's not tension from John Campea's side to Collider's side, as he refers to it as that other place I used to work. Or a couple of times you'll notice he will edit the comments in his companion video to take out Collider's name that are in the comments. Yes, that has happened, but you know what? It's his damn right to do it. It's his YouTube channel and his show. So what if he does it? Who cares? You know what? Yeah, there's probably some tension there. Yeah, from what we know publicly, which isn't much, it probably didn't end on the greatest of notes. And you know what? That shit happens in a workplace. Wish it does. Everybody wishes they could go to work and there's never any problems that come up. But sometimes there's a difference in opinion. Sometimes people want different things. Yes, this happens in relationships, this happens in work, and this happens in life. And I miss John and Christian and Mark together. I hope to God one day they decide to do, even a one-off special, or John opens the door about possibly appearing on the Schmoedown again, even though he seems to have ruled that out because of, even though the Schmoedown's not officially a part of Collider anymore, it seems to have ruled that out because of its connection with Collider. I hope that people realize that, look, just because Christian and John, who to my knowledge are friends, I have no inside knowledge on that more than any of you guys, go for dinner somewhere, go for lunch, doesn't mean, there's a big scheme in place to get them back together. Look, I miss seeing those guys together. I absolutely do. But at the end of the day, people move on and do their own thing. You know, you have the choice of watching one or the other or even both. You're getting more content if you watch both, and quality content at that. Sometimes things don't end well in a workplace, and sometimes it has nothing to do with the people that you see on screen. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it doesn't mean we have to make it out to be, the Maury Popovich show or anything like that, because I don't believe it is that. Seems like they're still on good terms. I mean, we've seen red carpet pictures of Mark with John and Kristen with John, and you just see it all over the comments on both channels, whether it's the Collider channel or John Campia's channel. Guys, let's take a deep breath. This is the business. This happens. I was a part of Channel 1138 for 3 or 4 years. It's a very small Star Wars network. We were reaching, a couple thousand people a week, and it was awesome for 3 years. And then a difference of opinion happened, and we're no longer together. Shit happens. I respect what they do over there. The people at the Star Wars Underworld are fantastic. People at IPC are fantastic. But sometimes things don't work out, and you move on to something new. It's like, Mark Ellis with his stand-up comedy, or Ken Knapsack. I'm assuming the Ken Knapsack leaving Collider was more of a budget thing. These guys pull off a shit ton of work with what I assume is not a very big budget, and they deserve credit for that. And I miss Ken on Collider, and I followed Ken over on Anchor. I listened to almost every episode of his Game of Thrones podcast over there. And yeah, as he made public on the podcast, he turned down the chance to go do the Collider Game of Thrones show this year. And you know what? That's his prerogative. It doesn't mean there's some, deep hate for Collider. He still pops on. I think he's been on Collider Live once or twice, and he's on Schmodown all the time. Look, guys, things happen. This is the way this industry works. That's right. Sometimes things happen and you just can't go back. But again, Ken has his own content, whether it be his Collider show or whether it be the afternoons with Josh McCouga, giving you guys more content options. Same thing with Robert Meyer Burnett. Okay. Yeah, I get it. There was more of a deep-rooted issue there, I think, that related to the late great John Schnapp, but I believe they worked all that out. Robert's back with the Schmodown. He's also doing the John Campia show. For those that are worried that Collider is a sinking ship, and I see this in the comments all the time, and whether they get deleted or not, I couldn't tell you. I don't go back to look at them. I'll be watching the live show and see it come up. Will Collider last forever? Possibly. Maybe it won't. But, instead of worrying about what's to come next and worrying about the past and trying to make some dramatic friggin' reality TV show drama out of it, in the workplace, things happen that we don't necessarily agree with, and we move on and do different things. Instead of crying about what we don't have anymore, let's appreciate what all of these individual artists do on their own, maybe not together anymore, but on their own. And you know what? Let's be happy for the fact that we had those times when these people were all at the same workplace. We had amazing times, and we got to enjoy it. Let's enjoy the fact that it happened at all, instead of worrying about it never happening again. They have a bunch of great products at Collider. John Campia has a great show. The Rule of Two is awesome, fun to listen to, a little more down to earth. The Snyder Cut, I'm a huge Jeff Snyder fan. I had a chance to meet him and Perry Nemiroff last year at TIFF very briefly. The Witching Hour is great. I love it when they cover Halloween content. These people have lives outside of this. They have families they go home to, and they do the best they can with what they have to work with. Last but not least, Jedi Council. Christian Harloff took some heat a while ago about supposedly being entitled about the whole Galaxy's Edge thing. I'm going to use some profanity here, so fair warning ahead of time. But he absolutely fucking should have been pissed off. It's not an entitled thing, but I'm telling you, when someone who busts his ass off as much as Christian has to cover Star Wars and, give Disney and Lucasfilm their props over the last several years, and you get a couple of fan sites that get invited to this thing, fan sites who I might add, a couple of them have had some major spoilers regarding some of the movies, and those guys got to go, and yes, they did. Don't tell me they did not. If you're listening to this podcast right now, working for a more reputable company, saying, no, the fan sites didn't get to go to that. Yeah, they did. I've seen pictures. They were there during the media days. I would be pissed off if I was Christian. He had earned that right, plain and simple. But shit happens. We move on. I think he took some unfair criticism at times during it. And that's the way this industry works, I guess. Sometimes people don't get their due. I mean, we've done episodes of, if it was Star Wars Wastelands back in the day, or Fandom City now, where it sits at, a couple hundred views, and I go, how has this not reached thousands? I think the content that we just put out is better than a lot of the things I've heard. Sometimes that happens and it doesn't go your way. It's that simple. So again, people, instead of creating more drama where there possibly is none, enjoy what we once had with all these individuals together, and enjoy what they're doing apart. Things happen in life. People move on. That's the way life works. Tune into the Schmodown. Test your movie trivia Schmodown skills. Check out Collider Live if you'd like. Collider Live is a great show with a ton of great shit happening on there. Check out Mark Ellis Live. Check out John Campia's show. Check out what Ken Knapsack's doing. I love all those guys. Yeah, they may not all be together at the same time anymore, but they're still doing what they love, distributing content to us fans. Let's enjoy it instead of picking it apart all the time. This is Sage. This has been Fandom City. You can check us out on Facebook, Fandom City. If you're a horror movie fan, go to Halloween Kills 2020 on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. We're desperately trying to rebuild our Twitter after it got hacked. It's at Fandom City Pod, FandomCityPod. You can help us rebuild over there. You can also check out our weekly podcasts. There's two of them, Fandom City Pod and Sage's Cantina. We are on Anchor, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and Spotify. Hopefully Apple Podcasts soon. Relaunching this thing hasn't been easy, but it has been fun. And one of the reasons that we're here today is because of the wonderful work done by the people at all the shows that I've just mentioned that have inspired us to do what we do. Thank you to each and every one of you that go out there and put yourself on the line, put yourself in front of a camera, and inspire all of us. Good night.